This review has been made possible by Toyota of Naperville. As you know, Toyota has tons of brand new Toyotas available for purchase. But did you know that they also have a remarkable selection of used cars? Head on over to toyotaofnaperville.com and look through hundreds of used cars for sale right now. Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2018 BMW X1 28i XDrive. Up front is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. This video is sponsored by CarMarshal.com. If you'd like to support the channel, click the link down in the description below. CarMarshal.com advertises for over 100,000 vehicles across the US. But let's get back to that 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4. Well, I've actually driven a couple vehicles with this engine. I actually drove a 3 Series Gran Turismo. I drove an X2, has the same engine, and actually it's the same engine used in the Mini Cooper S, the 2019 Mini Cooper S that I drove. And so I like this engine. I think it's actually pretty decent for these smaller vehicle applications. Obviously, the X1 is the smallest SUV offered from BMW. They have the X1, the X2, the X3, the X4, the X5, the X6, and the X7 as of 2020 here. And I've talked about it in many other reviews. I'm not a fan of the X4. I think we could do without that. But I have driven an X2, X3, and X5, as well as the X4. So if you'd like to see those reviews, I'll leave those at the end. But let's see if the X1 really has its own spot in the lineup. So we'll get back to that 2.0 liter. Let's get it onto the test track, see what it can do. All right, so we're gonna put it into sport. Coming up here, car is warmed up. Car is broken in. And we'll do a little bit for the sound, but I don't think there's going to be much sound. So here we go. Okay, not bad. It definitely gets up and goes. It's peppy for sure, and you do get turbo whistle. You do get turbo noises, which I'll amplify it here and replay it so it's a little bit louder. It definitely gets out of its own way, and it's peppy. The turbo spools up pretty high, which is to be expected. It's more of an economy turbo than a sporty turbo. Overall, it's not bad. I can't knock it. Now, like I said, paired to it is an automatic transmission. Again, nothing too crazy here, but since I reviewed the X2, I did an X2 about a month ago, I knew that the shifter looked familiar. Something about it looked familiar. It's out of a Mini Cooper. It's actually a Mini Cooper shift lever, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the interior. Last but not least, this is the XDrive model, and so it is all-wheel drive. That's what XDrive means, coming from BMW. It means it has the capability of all-wheel drive. There's no selector knob or anything. It's all-wheel drive all the time. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have just 2 gauges. On the left is my speedometer with fuel inside of it, and on the right is my tachometer with MPGs inside of it. Then down in the center, I do get a little information screen. I do like this a lot. It's telling me the current time, distance till empty, odometer of the car, and things like that. It's really clean and simple. I've always praised BMW for their clean and simple gauges, and it really does carry on here. On the steering wheel on the left, I have my cruise control options, and on the right, I have my voice commands, phone options, volume up and down, and things like that. To the left of me, I do have my fog light switches, headlight switches, things like that. And on the door, I actually, interestingly enough, have the unlock and lock buttons on the door. Sometimes BMW likes to put them in the middle. It's a little bit of an older style thing, but they are on the door. And of course, I also have my window switches and my power mirror options, which I can fold in the mirrors as well. In the center, I do get the standard BMW infotainment system. I like it, but in the X1, it's actually a lot smaller than you'll find in the X2, the X3, and especially the X5. So if you do struggle with your eyesight, you might want to look at a larger SUV. I do not have Apple CarPlay. I do not have Android Auto. I have satellite radio, AM, FM, and then, of course, my plugins. Higher trim level BMWs do come with Apple CarPlay, but this is just not one of them. And this car is 2 years old at this point, so Apple CarPlay definitely wasn't as standard as it is now 2 years ago. Down below the center screen, I do have 2 vents and my hazard switches, then my CD player, as well as my favorite buttons. I really like these. BMW does a great job because these favorite buttons can also be used for navigation points, things other than radio stations. So you can kind of custom set them to be other things, and I really, really like that. And then I have my climate controls, very basic, very small. Everything about this SUV is compact. I mean, this is the smallest one that they offer, so of course it is. And really, like I said, it's really just a lifted mini Countryman. But then down below the climate controls, I do have 2 cup holders that are hidden by 2 little garage door looking doors, I guess. Then I have the shifter. Like I said, it looks like it's straight out of a Mini Cooper, which isn't a bad thing. I don't dislike Mini Cooper stuff. It's just funny that I noticed that, and I'm sure 99.9% of users won't notice that, but I think it's a little funny. To the left of that, I do have a couple interesting buttons, though. I do have traction control off. I do have a sport mode, as mentioned earlier, and I do have Eco Pro as well. Then my parking sensors and hill descent control. Then down below that, we have my giant power parking brake, which is fine. It's whatever. It's an automatic car, though. I wish that they sold these in manual. I think this would be really, really cool in manual. To the right of that, I do have my selector dial for the center screen. So I've always praised BMW for this as well. It has really great tactile feedback. The buttons are easy to hit. It's very easy. I know what I'm doing without looking at it, and you know, that is huge. I don't like having to take my eyes off the road in order to, you know, find a new radio station or stuff like that. I can just use this little dial down here, great feedback, and I really think it's probably the best in its class. Now we gotta talk about the seats. The seats are heated, they are power, memory, all of the biz. I really like them. They're comfortable, they're plush. I mean, they're not like sporty seats. They don't have high bolsters, but in a vehicle like this, you don't need that. And so it's good enough for that. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2018 BMW X1 28i XDrive, and honestly, to be expected, the room back here is not great. If you plan on having people consistently in your back seat, get an X3 or above. That's really where the back seats start to actually be usable. I mean, my knees are hitting the front seat. The back is very 90 degrees. It's not super comfortable back here. You can take people back here. This is essentially a 5-seater, but at what cost? You know, I said this in the X2 review, and it really reigns true here in the X1. If you want to get your first car out of college, or you just got a new job, you want to treat yourself to a new car, yeah, the X1 is fine because you don't have a family yet. You know, you're not too serious, you know, whatever have you. The X1 is great for the city. It's the smallest SUV offered. Yeah, in that sense, it makes sense. I don't know. I don't know if I could live with this back seat if I had a family, if I had, you know, more than just myself. But let's look at the hatch real quick. Not bad space. I mean, obviously not the most. I do have privacy covers. I do have a little 12-volt outlet there. But that's it. Those seats do fold down, so you could get actually a lot more room than what is shown here. Last but not least, we do have this giant moonroof, sunroof. It's essentially a glass roof. This front part does open, so we can open that up. It's not too chilly today, luckily. That's a pretty good size right there, so we can close that back up. Now we have to talk about the looks. I think it looks okay. I don't think it's a bad looking SUV. I don't think it's a stunner either. You know, I think the front proportions are a little off. They don't look quite right. But that's okay. You know, I think overall this is a decent SUV. I just don't know. I don't see too many differences between this and the X2. I mean, from a driving standpoint, nothing really is that different. From a cargo standpoint, maybe you get a little bit more room in the X2, but honestly, you're looking at inches on the foot. when it comes to cargo room. So I don't know. I don't really know what the difference is, why you would choose an X1 over an X2 besides the price. The X1 is priced a little bit more budget friendly. This is the lowest tier SUV offered from BMW. And as a BMW rep once told me, you're not leaving the dealership for under 50 grand. Well, now you can. Now you can with this. This is definitely well below 50 grand. And so if you want the BMW name, this is one of your cheapest options, but I don't know. I don't think BMW needs so many SUVs. And this and the X2, I really cannot tell the difference that much between the two. I don't know. I don't know why BMW is producing two different ones that accomplish the same task. They have the same engines, the same transmissions. They feel very similar. The X2 felt a little nicer. So what's the point of the X1? I don't know. But that being said, I don't want you guys to comment, oh, he hates the X1, he hates the X1. I don't hate the X1. But do we really need both? I mean, this is like the exact opposite of that meme where the girl's holding the taco and she's like, why not both? Soft and hard shell tacos. It's the exact opposite. We don't need both. We just don't. So would I buy an X1? No, I would buy an X2. I just think that they looked better. It looked more modern. I think that looked really, really modern. This, I don't know why, this doesn't quite do it for me. And it accomplishes all the same things. It checks all the same boxes. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Toyota of Naperville for letting me take out their used BMW X1. I am so excited for all the reviews we are going to make together in 2020. I'm very excited. I'm driving some very interesting cars with them, and this is one of them. I'm really glad I was able to get my hands on an X1. So this sort of completes, I've done an X1 through 5 as of now. I just need to do a 6 and a 7. But thank you so much to Toyota Naperville. Their information is up on the screen. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys. Here goes a sight from my soul.